Good morning. It is a beautiful day and I probably should be out riding, but instead I'm going to be doing maintenance today on both the Trike and the Velo. If you recall from last video, you remember that I had some trouble with the eyeball. Had a crank arm come off, and that's going to take some special doing because it's got a Schlumpf drive on it. So with the Schlumpf drive, it has some special tools, which obviously I don't carry around with me. So I'll need to use the special tools to take off the button on the Schlumpf drive and then get in there so I can tighten up the crank arm again and hopefully won't lose it. It's gone a long time without coming off, but it's unusual that something like this would happen. So I need to get in there and inspect it to see if something broke or if it just came loose for some reason. And so I'll get out my Loctite and put just a touch of Loctite on there this time. Does anyone want a couple of decals for free? If you do, send me an email and I'll get them out to the first person who emails me. Alright, so there's the crank arm that came off. Let's see if I can figure out why it came loose. Fortunately, I didn't lose the button. As a side note, I got this really cool light from Costco, and it comes with 3 lights, and the little satellite lights that pop off are magnetic. Of course, everything in here is aluminum except the bell, so I was able to find a place to put it. So now I can have some illumination in there. And as you can see, the crank arm is loose, so hopefully it's not messed up too much in there. I'm gonna have to take it all the way off to see. Hopefully I can get it reseated so it will still crank properly. Hopefully I can get it down on there and tighten it back up. Alright, let's take it apart and see. And then just when you need it, the mirror falls out of its holder, so fun things. Everything needs maintenance. So it looks like it got a little bit messed up where the crank arm started to come all the way off. So there's a slight bump there. So I'm going to file that down because these crank arms are just aluminum. These are 155s. And I'm going to file that down a little bit just to get it smooth again. Doesn't look like any of the threads are messed up for the bolt, so I guess I'm just gonna have to make sure that I get it torqued down properly again. For whatever reason, it just came undone. Okay, so just a little bit of filing to get that cleaned up and smoothed back out again. It's still burgered up a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna be anything that's too bad once I get it tightened back down and torqued again. So this is the button that everyone talks about getting lost on their Schlumpf drive, and it didn't come off. I didn't lose it, and it goes right on top of this screw. So now got the crank arm cleaned up. I'm going to go ahead and put it back on. Okay, so I had to do quite a bit of searching, but finally found it on the Schlumpf website. I found the torque specifications for the bolts, and for axle bolt it should be 50 to 55 newton meters, which is about 35 to 38 foot-pounds. So I'll get out my torque wrench and see if it'll go down that low actually, or that high. And then the gear shift button is 1.1 newton meters, or about 0.8 foot-pounds, so almost nothing. So once I get all that done, then I'll put it on. Another thing that I noted in here when I was reading through this to try and find this torque is it specifically said do not put Loctite on the left side. So I won't be putting any Loctite on it, for those of you that were panicking. So my torque wrench is an inch-pounds one, so I have to convert the foot-pounds, which you just multiply it times 12, and that gives me about 420 inch-pounds that I'll have to put on for torque for the bolt. Get out my 14mm socket, which fits it perfectly, and then I can torque it in. Ensuring that the crank arms are aligned opposite, because I want to be able to pedal properly, and put the crank bolt in. Now remember, there's that tiny little shaft in there that I have to, that's why this hole is hollow, because that's what holds the button on. So I'll put that in there, and then I'll tighten that down. There we go. Did you hear it click over? It finally clicked over. There we go. Whew. That is a lot of torque on an inch wrench. So obviously if my torque arm was longer, it would be easier to put 35 foot-pounds as opposed to 420 inch-pounds. Still, got it locked on, 35 to 38 pounds, which is 50 to 55 Newton meters of torque, and hopefully that will keep it locked in place. Now I'll get the button installed and take it out for a quick test drive, and we'll see how it works. When your bike storage area or your bike shop is the same as the family wood shop, it tends to get a little dusty. So the other thing I'm going to do, since I just picked up that Garmin 1000 from a friend, I ordered a cadence sensor, and I'm going to give it a try to see. I've never actually measured what my cadence is, so I don't know. That is one of the indicators that you can use to ensure that you can get faster with training and keep your cadence up. To me, 80 to 90 sounds like a ridiculously high amount for cadence, but I'm told that that's where you want to be if you really want to get fast. So I'm not sure I really want to get fast and take away some of the leisure rides that I do. I still will do those because I enjoy that part. But I'm going to have to take this sensor and put it on there. I don't even know how fast I really go right now. I don't know what my cadence is. So I'm just going to take this out for a test drive right now and test out the cadence sensor and put it on. Unfortunately, I should have done that when I had it up on the table and turned over, but I'll have to turn it over out here and put it on. I've never installed one of these before, so I'm not sure if it matters where on the crank arm it goes or what, so kind of put it out near the pedal. Not sure if that's the right place, but we'll see if that works. So really this test ride is not for the cadence sensor, but for the Schlumpf drive. Okay, so the initial test is going to be to see if the buttons even work just sitting still. No need to get out on the road if the buttons aren't even going to work. On a Schlumpf drive, you just tap them with your heel and they move in and out. And so do a little test of that and see how they work. So that seems to be working okay. So we'll head out and try a drive and see how the pedals work. I'm assuming, since I just put 420 inch-pounds, 35 foot-pounds of torque on that bolt, the crank arm is going to be fine. So, the buttons work, the drive work, the arms work, everything works. However, now there's a little clunking sound that I can't figure out. New sound, wasn't there before. Can't figure out what that is. So, I don't know if I should let it wear. See for a minute what the deal is on that. I'm coasting right now, so can't hear it, but let me see if I can get it to go again. And it's in the same spot every time. It's when the left crank arm is forward. So I need to see if my cadence sensor is hitting that little bolt up there that holds the torque arm on. Okay, cool. At least it wasn't anything big, no big deal. It's just that the sensor that I put on the crank arm was hitting a bolt that I have holding the torque arm for the Schlumpf drive. So I'll move the sensor and then it should be good. That clunking should go away. Which is good because I didn't want to have to rebuild the Schlumpf drive yet. I heard that's quite a task. Okay, that was it. Right off the bat, no more clunking, which is good. So now I'm gonna get on with the ride. I don't have my GoPros or anything, but I'm gonna get on with the test ride and check it out, head back to the house. Okay, so I never really knew what my cadence was because I didn't have a cadence sensor. And now that I do, I discovered that 90 RPMs 90 RPMs is about the place where I really get tired quick. Looks like I'm more comfortable around 80. But that's because aerobically I'm not in shape. Because that kind of RPM gives you a lot more aerobic exercise. So, like right now, this, I'm doing 75. And I'll show you. This is 90. So it increased my speed indeed without changing gears. And obviously changing the RPM of pedaling will increase your speed. But this is an RPM that I don't know how long I can keep up. So I'll have to do some more training. Whew. Okay, my first ever ride with a cadence sensor, actually trying to see what my cadence was, and then once I figured out what it was and what I was comfortable with, trying to maintain that cadence. And let me tell you, even on a test ride, be sure to bring your water. As you saw a little bit in there, I was able to get up to 90 RPMs pretty easily. It was actually not as fast as I thought it was, but it's still pretty quick cadence. And obviously that will increase my speed as the terrain and things like that change. Now I noticed climbing hills, especially in the Velo doesn't bleed off speed as quickly as the Trike will. But climbing the hills, I got down into the 60s and 70s. And so it'll be interesting to analyze the data and see what it is I find. So, all right, so there you go. Schlumpf drive is good. The crank arm is back on. The Velo drive's great. And the cadence sensor is definitely something I'm gonna have to get used to. So, all right, so thanks for watching. Until next time, cheers.